Today's masterclass is on the perfect video sales letter. And we're going to be talking about exactly what that is and how you can use it really effectively in your business. On top of that, what we'll be doing is to walk you through the exact structure of it. And this is the main thing I want to talk about today. How do you structure the video sales letter so that it is as effective as it can possibly be? Without much further ado, let's dive in. For those who don't know me, my name is Jonathan Tanner. I'm the co-CEO and a founder of Social Media College. I'm also the author of the Diploma of Social Media Marketing, which is the only formal qualification in social media marketing here in Australia. I've been awarded previously the Social Media Educator of the Year. And as part of our free and also paid community, I'm a course host, a coach, and a facilitator for a lot of these workshops. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of trust and belief that I know what I'm talking about and I can teach you something today. This is what is commonly known as the first ever known advert that was in the form of what's called a sales letter. And for those who are young enough or old enough to remember, these used to be quite common in newspapers where advertisers would pay a large amount of money and they would actually write a very long form written advertisement. And the idea was over the course of that long sales letter, which appeared like it was a news article, you would sell people into your belief on a particular solution. And then towards the end, you would make some sort of pitch. And they were very effective in their day. And these sales letters really were pioneered by some of the legendary copywriters, Gary Halbert or Eugene Schwartz, John Caples, those type of guys, who really drove forward the belief that if you can engage someone in the right way with one of these sales letters, you can take them on a bit of a content journey and ultimately persuade them enough to take action immediately. Then what is a video sales letter? A video sales letter is just that exact same content, but instead delivered as a video. While some of the adverts may be designed to promote a company or build kind of general awareness of it, a VSL really has one objective, and that's to get people to act or ideally to make the sale for you. So if it's an e-commerce business, it might be to buy the product. If it's an advertising agency, it might be to get them to schedule a sales call. If it's a government body, it might be to get them to sign up for a new service or whatever it is that your organization is trying to achieve. Not everyone is trying to generate sales. And not everyone is trying to get people to buy online. They might want someone to take some form of action. Whatever it is that you are trying to achieve, a video sales letter can certainly help you to achieve that. And the core concept here is we're taking people who have never, ever heard of you, ice cold prospects, and over the course of the video sales letter, really turn them into red hot leads or ideally buyers or actors on the spot. Who are VSLs good for? They're particularly good for really any product, service, or message that requires trust building. You think, doesn't that necessarily apply to everyone? Not necessarily, particularly for lower priced products. There isn't always a lot of trust that needs to be built in order for someone to act. But as soon as you get into anything that's like a medium to high priced product, of course, this is going to be a really effective marketing tool. In fact, probably one of the most efficient and effective tools that you can use. Any sort of product, service, or message that requires a lengthy explanation, so if it's a little bit complicated, or you need to explain your solution or your product in some type of way, or you need to demonstrate it as well. You need to be able to show how it works. The video seller is going to be really effective. So let's look at some of those groups. First one would be B2B, particularly useful, and you see them used a lot with B2B organizations, but also B2C, where the price point is medium to high. Any service-based business, there's a bit of crossover there with B2B and B2C high ticket, but any kind of service-based businesses, VSLs work particularly well. Great for coaches, course creators, consultants, speakers, anyone with software, because typically software is trying to solve a problem and you need to really connect with people and explain what that problem is and show them how your software is a better solution than the way they used to do things in the past. Any startup or new brand, this is going to be great because it's going to take people who've never heard about you before and really indoctrinate them on your way of thinking, not for profits, and also e-commerce products. This does work for e-commerce products, but remember, a lot of the reason why you would invest the time and the energy into a VSL is because you are trying to build that trust. If you have a lower price e-commerce product, it's probably not the right solution, or it can be, it's just that it is a lot of work, potentially for not the same amount of reward. How can VSLs be delivered? We use this term VSL, video sales letter, But it's really important to understand that the VSL can be dressed up in lots of different ways. And I want to divide these into two groups. The first is live. It could be something like a webinar, very common for people to host live webinars. And you would use this exact format if you were running a webinar and you were trying to drive actions off the back of that. It can also be an auto webinar. These are really common, and I'll show you an example of this where it has the appearance of being a live webinar, but in fact, it is something that's pre-recorded. Personally, I have a bit of an ethical challenge with this, but you do see it used quite a bit. Masterclasses such as this, but just to disarm everyone, we're not doing a structured VSL format for this particular masterclass. Course or training, very common. So live course, live training, could be an information session, could even be delivered in person. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't do this in person. You couldn't record it and then do it as something that's on demand. This is not an exhausting list of ways in which you can dress up a VSL, but it gives you some of the most common ones. The second would be on demand, pre-recorded in some way. You can say it's an online course, it's an online training, so free online course, free online training. A special report can be a challenge. This is a relatively new concept where people are breaking up these VSLs over 3, 4, 5 days, and they're calling it this challenge where you're trying to teach people something consecutively over a number of days. YouTube video or combination with that and some of the other ones above and so on. There are other ways you can dress this up as an on-demand. When you see all of these things online, hopefully now you're going to be a little bit more conscious that a lot of them are fundamentally the same thing, which is a video sales letter. Now, the other important point I want to call out here is that most of the time these are free, but an emerging trend, again, we're seeing is that people are starting to charge people for it. And why are they doing that? Because when you charge people a nominal amount, and it's usually something like $10 or $7, 17, or people are always using the psychological 7 number at the end of their pricing, $7, $17, $27, $37. When people are charging a nominal amount, it does a couple of things. One, it really improves the turn-up rate for your live webinar, for example. Secondly, it really disarms the prospects because they've already become a customer, even though it's a very small amount that they've paid. Then the jump from being an existing customer, albeit at a smaller amount, to then potentially purchasing the higher value product that's pitched at the end of the video sales letter isn't as big. I'm going to very quickly go through the benefits of the VSL. It's very important for me to talk through some of these benefits and why I strongly believe that this is one of the single most effective tools for growing revenue that you can use in your organization. It really is amazingly effective when you get it right, but it's very important to understand that you can get this wrong. How you structure it, how you deliver it, how you pitch it, how you market the VSL is very important. And also it's very important to understand that they do take a fair amount of investment of time, but in terms of the return on the time invested that you will get out of it, it is absolutely huge. But let's go through quickly the benefits of VSLs. The first is that it's going to generate higher engagement. People are much more likely to watch a video than they are to read long-form text. The second is that it's going to build an emotional connection. It's going to allow voice. It's going to allow facial expressions. It's going to allow people to see your face. If you do choose that type of style, that's ultimately going to increase trust. It's going to deliver a structured, persuasive message. And this is because if you follow this structure, it's logical and it's also very persuasive and permissive. They'll actually allow you to do a sales pitch at the end because you've added a lot of value while you've been doing it. You're going to be able to capture contact details. This is a big one. They're very effective because they're really chunky, valuable pieces of information that you're delivering to people. Are going to be willing to cop up their email address. And not only do you take prospects from being ice cold to red hot, but you also collect their contact details. And that can be just their email address, which would make them a marketing lead, or you can collect more details like their phone number, and therefore they're a sales lead, that's someone you can contact off the back of this. You're going to qualify the audience. You're going to tell them exactly who it's for. So you'll actually remove people that are unqualified, but also make the people that are qualified really firmly believe that it is the solution for them. It's going to demonstrate your expertise and your authority, why people should buy from you and not from someone else. You're going to be able to showcase a bunch of your social proof and authority. Some of these things will make more sense when we go through the structure. It's going to simplify complex topics. If you have something that is a little bit tricky to explain to people, it does help that it's scripted and you can break it down in exactly the way in which you want to relay that message. It's going to improve recall. People are much more likely to remember it when you have audio, video, etc., than necessarily long form text. It's going to facilitate sharing and virality. In fact, if you can get a bit of virality off the back of one of these video sales letters, it makes the actual distribution of it extremely cheap. It's much better on mobile. It's going to increase trust. I already talked about that. And also provide a really clear call to action. But at the end of it, you're going to be saying, like, this is what you do next. Ultimately, that's going to deliver you a larger email list, more sales leads, if that's what your organization is trying to generate, better quality leads, not just a higher volume, but also a better quality of those. And ultimately, that is going to help you to improve conversion rates. So if you're in that position now where you are generating leads for your business, but you're really struggling to convert those sales leads into paying customers or into the action that you want people to take, then this is definitely something you need to pay a lot of attention to. This is an example here where the group, John Pemberton, you might know him, very common. He has got a business called Ad Clients. He was running a 1-minute ad on YouTube. He's called out the audience, online coaches and experts. You're about to discover the latest version of my automated funnel that literally saved my online coaching practice and continues to deliver me 10 to 15 high ticket clients a month. And you click on, all right, let me see it. And you jump in and you register your spot. This is one of those auto webinars where you can see down here, it's saying, oh, coincidentally, the webinar is starting in 5 minutes time. I'll let you guys decide what you think about that. But you can see here in this example that what you do is you put in your name, your email, and also your phone number. It's likely that people who do register for this particular one, they'll get a phone call off the back of that. They're trying to generate sales leads, but they're also trying to get people into this auto webinar so that they can explain to them why their solution is the best and what they can do and how they might be able to work together. Quick question that came through here was, what would be the difference between a live VSL and a live Q&A session on Instagram and Facebook? What you often have on social media is people jump on and they have the live Q&A sessions where they're just doing exactly that. All they're doing is just answering questions for people. That's going to be a little bit different to a VSL where you go through, you introduce yourself, you deliver a bunch of education, and then off the back of that, you deliver a sales pitch. Good segue into the exact structure that you should have for the perfect VSL. And this is really going to be the remainder of the session today. The first is an introduction, and we want to make sure that introduction is 10 minutes max. And that can vary according to how long you want your video sales letter to be. Next, we're going to have the body of the video sales letter is going to be all about delivering value. What you're going to do here is aim to teach people about your particular domain, your particular topic. And this is really the chunk of it. That's going to then allow you to do a sales pitch at the end, which is about 20%. Now, some people aren't necessarily selling anything, but you get the idea of a pitch, whether it's a sales pitch or just a pitch for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, doesn't really matter. If you exclude the intro, I broadly have there the body and the sales pitch in about an 80-20 ratio in terms of time that you want to invest into each one of those sections. The intro just being the outlier. And the reason being is that the intro really depends on what you want to do and how much you want to say in that particular time. And again, I think some of this will make a little bit more sense when I explain what you need in the intro. Standard webinar is about 60 minutes. How would this look with a 60-minute webinar? The intro might be about 7 minutes because that's what you need to do your intro. Then the body's say 43 minutes and you got 10 minutes. And that would be broadly how you would break up a 60-minute one. Let's just say it's a 30-minute VSL. Well, you might do the intro in 5 minutes and then you decide the body will be about 20 minutes and the pitch will be about 5 minutes. Maybe a 15-minute one. Yes, you can have a video sales letter that's 15 minutes. Yes, you can have a video sales letter that is 3 hours. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you still want to make sure that you only use a 10-minute intro for the video sales letter. But if it was 15 minutes, maybe you had 2-minute 30 intro, 10 minutes for the body, and then 2-minute 30 sales pitch. The longer the video sales letter, the more time you have to invest in the body and the more time you have to invest in the sales pitch. And I'll just quickly talk about the goals. For the intro, really, this is about, we want to hook them in. We want to capture their attention. We want to establish our authority, build connection with the audience, identify or explain the problem that we have. In the body, we're doing nothing here but adding value. We're not selling our product or service or message. We're just teaching them about the solution, about the mechanism that is your particular product. We're providing them with simple, actionable solutions, and we're also demonstrating our expertise. Then in the sales pitch, we want to reinforce that authority that we built up in the body. We want to deliver a really great kind of knockout offer. And then finally, we want to convert them. We want to make them act off the back of that. let's dive into the intro. And the intro is undoubtedly the single most important part of the video sales letter, because statistically, most people will find that when they get to the body, they've already lost 50% of their audience, and some as high as 80%. Now, if you follow this structure, you're going to maximize the number of people that get through to the body. And the reason being is that people drop off because they go, oh, I'm not sure this is for me, or I'm not sure I can believe what they're going to say, or the intro is too long, or whatever it is. We need to make sure that we overinvest in the intro, because the more people that we can retain until after the intro, the higher it is that we're going to get people through. And generally, if people get through that intro, they usually write it out for most of the video sales letter, even if it is 2 hours long. And then you think, hold on, that doesn't make sense. Why don't we just dive straight into the body of it? And I'm going to explain why, okay, very clearly, because if you do that, people will get generally halfway through the body of it and go, oh, I'm not sure I trust these guys. I'm not sure these guys are actually a credible authority in this particular area. First of all, we need to do what's called a big claim. And this could be something along the lines of, in this video, webinar, free training, however you want to dress it up, I'm going to show you how to achieve this dream outcome in this time frame without some fear that they have using a mechanism. You can see here, there are areas that you need to fill in, and this is ultimately going to come back to how well your audience, what their dream outcomes are, what some of their biggest fears are, okay? You'll see this word mechanism used a lot as we go through this presentation, and the mechanism is not your product. The example I used here was dentists selling teeth whitening. The mechanism is teeth whitening. It's not your particular Pro Max teeth whitening solution. We've got to be really clear. A lot of people get this wrong. Or if you're a dog walking business, the mechanism is dog walking. It's not your 1 hour dog walking express product. There's a difference between the mechanism, which is the overall thing that you do, and the product. I'll give you another example. Social Media College, we used to have this high ticket program called the Social Media Marketing Intensive. That's a product, but the mechanism was a social media marketing course. And that Social Media Marketing Intensive was our particular product. That was one of those things that's part of the mechanism. It's really important to understand, because we don't get into the selling part in a video sales letter until right to the end. If people get into these webinars and they feel like they're getting sold to, they're going to bail straight away. You've got to make sure that you don't do any selling. Just bite your tongue. I know everyone is just dying to pitch what they have and explain to people why it's just the best solution out there. But what we really need to do is sell people on the actual mechanism. And this is particularly important for those who have product services that is a little bit different to the way in which people normally do things, like software, for example. They're used to doing something manually in a spreadsheet, and then all of a sudden this software comes along and it can automate something, right? You have to bring people along on that journey and explain why this is a better way to do things than the old way that they used to do things, okay? The big claim, let's just say this is a marketing agency trying to pitch to dentists why they should use a video sales letter. The title could be How to Double Your Sales Leads in 30 Days Without Spending More on Ads Using Video Sales Letters, or the groundbreaking 30-day plan to double sales leads using video sales letters, or the secret strategy to double sales leads in 1 month without increasing your ad budget. You don't have to do it in exactly this way. You can put this framework into ChatGPT and it'll give you a bunch of variations. Some of these were inspired by ChatGPT. And you can also give it a subtitle if you want, something like the 4 simple steps to transform your business. This big claim that you're making also can act as the title of the webinar as well, or you can give it a separate title. It's totally up to you. When you make this big claim, most people, particularly if you go big and you make a really big claim about what people can do if they use your particular mechanism, most people aren't going to believe that claim. So you've got to immediately back it up with social proof. And you don't want to make these up if you don't have good case studies or testimonials or stories of your existing customers. You need to go and get those. If you are just getting started with this, what you can do is you can back it up with like research reports or data that shows this particular way of doing things is better. But I would say where VSLs are going to be really effective is where you've already gone and collected 5 or 6 existing case studies of customers that you've already serviced that have gone and got great results out of what you're doing. That's pretty time consuming to go and collect that stuff if you haven't, but lots of benefits from doing that. You're going to get so much great feedback, and you're also going to get great video testimonials, and you're going to be able to bundle these up into these case studies. And if you're not getting case studies, if you're not getting results for people, I would actually suggest go and work on your product or your service or whatever it is, because you need to make sure that your product does add value. The best VSL in the world won't help if your product isn't any good. You need to make sure you are getting results for people, and then just go and capture those stories from people. You could use this framework just like name from this company who went from this particular situation to this state in a certain amount of time. And you want to back it up with some proof. It could be something like, just like John from ABC Dentist, who went from 1 to 2 sales leads per week for his teeth whitening product to over 10 leads per week and booked out for months in advance. Here's a screenshot of their booking calendar showing how many bookings they have for their teeth whitening product. The longer the webinar, the more in-depth you can provide information on each one of these case studies. The shorter it is, the quicker those need to be. And remember, we're trying to do 3 quick fire ones back to back. So you've made this big claim and you've done 3 quick fire case studies back to back to demonstrate to people that the big claim that you've made is genuine and it is possible. Then we do the introduction. And just like in a social media hook, we don't start by going, hi, my name is, and people are like, oh, boring, I'm out of here. What we do is we make the big claim to capture their attention. We back it up with those 3 case studies, and then we introduce ourselves. What we want to do here is with this introduction, we're trying to get permission to do the rest of the introduction, because by now people are like, this is great, but I came here to learn about this. So why am I watching this introduction? The introduction could be something like, if you're looking for results like this, then you're in the right place. Hi, my name is John. I'm from ABC Marketing Agency, and I'm going to spend the next 60 minutes showing you the exact 4 steps you need to do this. But before I do, I'm going to do a super quick intro so you know who we are and what we do, but also why we're the leading authority on this topic and whether this is going to be right for you. So please just bear with me for a few short minutes, then we'll get into the steps. You see what I've done here? Basically, the tone that you're using is I have to do this intro because otherwise you won't believe me and who I am, but also explain to them that it's going to be a short introduction before you dive into the steps. Can you give examples of good platforms to create quality VSLs free if possible? Ali, personally, I wouldn't recommend a platform for this. This is really marketing fundamentals. We've got a template that we're going to provide to everyone, and you can use that template, but fundamentally, I wouldn't use a tool for this. I can talk about some of the tech that you can use to create this, i.e. to film it, or to potentially use AI to create off the back of it. But ultimately, you need to go through and think about what it is that you want to say in the VSL. No real shortcuts for this one. All right, we'll do this introduction. Then after this, we're going to go, okay, firstly, what we want to do is we want to call out who this is for. By now, people are going, wow, big claim, backed up with a bit of social proof, explain why they're doing it, quick introductions. The next thing you say is, let me tell you who this is for. What we want to do is we want to call out the specific audience for this. We want to help identify their problems, build rapport with them, make them feel like the video sales letter is made just for them. They're like, wow, how did you know that I'm feeling that? How did you know I want that? Is almost the reaction that we should be getting from people when we do this, who is this for? And the case studies that you've presented match the audience that you're calling out for this. Really important. If you have a bunch of case studies, people looking at that going, well, clearly you got the results, but those people aren't like me, or that's different to who you're saying this is for, then people will be a little bit suspicious. Let's continue with that dentist example. You might have something like, this is for you if you run a dental practice that is currently not generating enough sales leads for you and your staff. You want to fill their calendars so that you can work less and spend more time away from the practice and with your family. You're probably feeling stressed and anxious from the lack of cash flow. You've tried running Google ads, but you couldn't generate a strong enough return. Again, how long this is going to depend on how lengthy the webinar is. That's a pretty small example, but you can see there that if I ran a dental practice and someone said to me, oh, you're feeling stressed and anxious, like, how did you know that? How did you know that I'm looking to actually spend more time with my family? And how did you know that I'm not generating enough leads? Now, a lot of those things, everyone feels like they're not generating enough leads, but the idea here, again, is all about connecting with the audience and making them feel like, hey, this is for me. Because if you get to this point and you hook the audiences, this is where you really grab them. If you can grab them with this, who this is for slide, they'll be like, wow, this entire video sales letter is designed just for me. I'm going to listen. And if you get this slide, they should be there all the way to the end. Here's an example of a language template that you could use for this. Don't worry, there's a lot of text on a lot of these slides. This is why we're going to provide you with the template that you can use, which has a lot more detail than this. But the template that we are supplying you has all of these things in it and a bunch more stuff that you can do. Next, you want to do market trends. And this is really about driving people to want to act now. So making them feel like this is something that they need to solve sooner rather than later. For our marketing agency that's pitching to dentists, it might be, look, hey, at the moment, there's an increasing number of home whitening kits that are being made available in the market. There's more and more cosmetic clinics that are opening up that are competing with you for the teeth whitening. And also the cost of living crunch means customers are being a little bit more selective about the purchases like this. Now, these are all typically trends that are already on the audience's mind. And you are only going to know this from speaking with your audience, which comes back to those case studies, going out there and collecting them and understanding what they're going through, where they were, what their desires are, and what are some of their fears that they have about what's happening in the market at the moment. This market trends is going to drive urgency and scarcity. Then what we're going to do is outline what's possible and help them to identify the problem. You say, despite these trends, so there's some challenges in the market at the moment, and there's always challenges in the market that any customer is trying to overcome. You say, despite these trends, you can achieve this particular outcome, the outcome that you made up in your big claim. Then you want to explain what that problem is. Continuing the example, here's the truth. You can substantially increase your sales leads in a short period of time using a video sales letter. The problem is that most dentists just aren't marketers and they don't have enough expertise to develop one themselves, and they lack enough time to implement it effectively. Very quickly, you've told them, hey, you can achieve this outcome that you want, but here's the problem why it's challenging for you to do that. And we're just working our way through this, making people feel like it's for them, acknowledging some of the challenges or fears that they have, and also explaining to them that it is possible, but there's a reason why they haven't been able to achieve it. Here's a language template. Here's the truth with video sales letter, which is the mechanism we're using today. You can achieve this particular outcome. However, you have a problem or problems that prevent you from achieving it. By this point, people are like, this sounds a little bit too good to be true. So we need to throw in a bunch of social proof. And this is going to be done in two ways. One, we're going to give them a bunch of information on your company. And the second, what we're going to do is we're going to give them some information on the background story for you as a founder or the business owner or who the individual it is from that. This can be anything from the year you were founded, how many customers you have, some of your high-profile customers, some of the awards that you have, certifications, achievements, any kind of social proof that you can put in front of them to say, hey, we are a credible company that is providing this information to you today. Then we also can do a backstory. And I'm going to recommend at the end, it is the founder who's delivering the video sales letter. That backstory typically involves something like this. You were doing something else, you encountered this problem, couldn't find a solution. You felt really passionate about solving this problem, so you decided to create this product or this business to solve that particular problem. And the reason we do both company credibility and the background story, company credibility is like, you can trust this particular company. Background story is, hey, you can trust me. Ideally, the person who is presenting is the one that's doing the background story, and ideally the one presenting is a founder or the CEO of the business, so that people can really relate to individuals. People like to do business with other people, not necessarily companies. They're always going to trust a person more than they will trust a company. We do both of those. That's the intro. Now, if we go back to the timing of that, again, maximum 10 minutes. You've got to be really conscious of this. My advice is always try and keep it as short as possible. Try and rip through this quickly without missing out on key information. And we live in this amazing age where you might write this out, you might actually script all of this, and then you find that, hey, it's 15 minutes long, and you just put it into ChatGPT or some other copywriting tool and say, hey, can you rewrite this, but do it in half the number of words, and it will just literally do it for you. I'll get to the tips as well on how we can shortcut the production of the video sales letter as well. Now we're going to do the body of our video sales letter. And if you remember the ratio between the body and the sales pitch, so the rest of the video sales letter is going to be about 80-20. We're going to spend 80% of the time teaching people about your particular topic or your area or your solution. And then at the end, we're going to do the sales pitch. And the idea here is that if you add enough value and if you demonstrate enough expertise, enough authority on your topic, people are inherently good-mannered and they will allow you to make a sales pitch at the end of that. Whereas if you just dive into a sales pitch, which is what most people do, they don't like being sold to, but it's almost like reciprocation. People are like, wow, this is really amazing. Clearly, you know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm interested. Tell me about your solution. Tell me about how you might be able to help me. That's the mentality that we're doing with this. It's very important to understand that this is not a sales pitch. This is probably the biggest issue I see when I'm reviewing a video sales letter is that people send it to me and the body is just morphed into this extremely long sales pitch about why their product or service or why their particular product has the best whatever feature. What we're doing here is we're selling people on the concept. We're not selling them on your individual product. The natural consequence of getting this body will be that people want to hear about your product. Bite your tongue. Don't pitch your product here. Sell people on the solution or the mechanism first, and then we're going to move into your features and all of that in the sales pitch. We just want to add an incredible amount of value. We just want to help people. That's the mentality as well that you need to be taking with this. I just want to help people, sell people on the concept, not on the brand. Great quote from Steve Jobs. The best marketing is education. So we're providing unique, useful insights to people. We're providing actionable insights as well. Hey, these are the 3 or 4 steps that you need to do in order to achieve that thing that I said that you could achieve right at the beginning. And the question I want you to be asking yourself while you're developing the body is, what does a prospect need to believe in order for them to buy into my particular solution? Not your product, into your solution that you have. If you're a service-based business, this is how we do what we do. The simple, logical steps that you might have for people would be, hey, this is the steps that we have. Let's just say we are providing SEO. Step 1 is to do the audit. Step 2 is to develop a strategy. Step 3 is to do on-site SEO. Step 4 is to do the off-site SEO. So you say, these are the 4 steps that you need to do it. And you're almost talking to people like, hey, if you want to do it yourself, this is exactly how you would do it yourself. And some people get a little bit guarded here and they go, why would I tell people exactly how I do things? Because the reality is that most people are looking for other people to do it for them. And if they plan on doing it themselves, then so be it. They were never going to be a customer anyway. But you need to have that mentality of giving away all of your IP. Just tell them everything literally. This is what we do. This is how we do it. And this is the order in which we do things. They're going to get to the end of it and they go, wow, I know exactly what I need to do, but I don't feel confident enough to get it right. Can you help me to do it? You want to do, in terms of the number of steps, you'll have the education step 1. You'll explain what is part of that step that you need to do. Then at the end of that, you go, cool, let me just quickly summarize that for you. This is optional depending on how long your video sales letter is. You might provide them with a resource. Hey, here's a checklist. Here's a template. Here's a link to a research report or something along those lines. Always helps to back up what you're saying. Plus answer typically anywhere from 1 to 5 common questions that people ask about this particular step is a good way to structure this. And then you're going to repeat those same 4 things for step 2, step 3. And then at the end of it, you're going to do a summary of those steps. Maximum 5 steps. I would say the sweet spot is 3 or 4 steps. 4 probably is the way to go. 3 is completely fine as well. When it's just 2 steps, it's going to feel like, oh, there's more to it than that. 4 is typically a good number. Anything above 6, all of a sudden it's, wow, it feels like there's a lot to do in there and you might not necessarily retain them if you have a large number of steps. I'm sure some people are thinking, but my thing is so complicated. My thing takes 12 steps to do. Well, you just need to chunk those steps together into logical groups. I'll give you a few examples of the body. Service-based business, this is what we do and this is how we do it and this is the order in which we do it. E-commerce business might be not necessarily steps. It might be, hey, these are the 3 things that you need to know about this. Let's just say you're a supplements company. You might say, I'm going to tell you the 4 most common myths that you see in the market about this. And you're going to teach people these 4 things, always through that frame of what do people need to believe in order to buy into my solution. You might bust a bunch of myths for them. If you're a charity, let's just say you're getting homeless people off the streets, it might be like, hey, first thing we do is we get them accommodation. Second thing we do is we get them a health check. Third is help them with clothing and personal grooming. And then 4th is give them job recruitment support. There's a myriad of ways you can do this, but these are the steps that we take. And this is exactly how we do things. Or if it doesn't fit into that category, you might just provide them with 3 or 4 things that your prospects need to believe in order for them to buy into your solution. And again, if you've got lots of those steps, you just want to chunk them down. Question I often get asked is, how do I present this? What are the slides? Well, we've got the template deck that we're going to provide you to, but you can have 1 slide as part of it for each one of these. You could have 1 slide just for education step 1. It's totally up to you. I've seen one where there's 4 or 5 slides. It depends on the topic that you're delivering. It depends on how complex it is as well. You may need to have multiple slides just to explain this particular step, and that's okay. But it probably helps if you just have 1 slide per point that you have here for this. It also depends on how you're delivering it. If you're delivering it live, then you're going to want to have really visual slides. Potentially, if you're delivering it as something that's pre-recorded on demand, you may have more detailed slides. And I'll talk about some of the tips we have for creating this perfect VSL. Between the body and the sales pitch, this is the bulk of what you deliver. The one thing I will say is that most founders, most business owners or sales directors, whoever it is that's putting this together, this is where they can talk underwater. And just on this topic, they don't need a script. They can just talk about this and talk about this and talk about this, because this is really all the things that you know about your chosen area and all the things that you typically would use as part of a sales call, or you would typically use as part of your marketing collateral. We're putting it all here and teaching people about what it is that you do and why your solution is better than others. Once we've delivered that body, then what we're doing is we're into the sales pitch. And if we've done a good job in the body, if we've just added value, if we haven't tried to sell to them, if we've really just focused on educating them and teaching them what they need to believe in order to buy into your solution, if you've done that, people are going to be kind. They're going to sit there and they're going to listen to your sales pitch. If you haven't done a good job of this, what you should see when you look at the graph to see whether or not people do drop off, you will notice that people drop off as soon as the sales pitch starts. You're always going to see a little bit of people drop off, but if you've done a really good job here, you should see that there's no drop off whatsoever, that people are really excited to hear what it is that you have to offer, because they're like, wow, I'm so sold on what it is that you do and your way of thinking. And I need someone to help me with this. I don't feel confident enough to do it myself, or I don't have the time, or hey, I'm just looking for the right person to do this. So they'll sit there and they'll listen to your sales pitch. But what I'm going to teach you here is a very deliberate way and order and structure in which to deliver that sales pitch. The transition that you want to make from delivering the body into your sales pitch is, hey, here's your options. They're sitting there, they're like, yep, I understand how to do it. They believe they can get the results that they want, that you're the expert in the field. And the natural consequence is that they're going to want your help. You say to them, hey, look, you've really got three options. The first option is you do it the hard way. You try and do it yourself. But the challenge with that is you're probably going to make a bunch of mistakes, or you just don't have the time. You link it back to that problem that they have in the beginning. Option two is you use XYZ, who usually someone who's not a specialist in the particular area and generally charges more money. That's the expensive way. Or they work with you, which is your particular product. This is the first time you introduce it. That's cheaper, faster, and better. But what we want to do here is just bite our tongue. I know we want to dive into actually explaining the features and product and benefits, but you just, for the first time, open up the option of working with you. And don't go into the features just yet, but you just say option three is you work with us or you purchase our particular product. And that will just be a little taster for them to go, oh, tell me more about that. What we want to then do is we want to repeat this who is this for slide. You can literally copy and paste that exact same slide. I'm just going to remind you who this is for. This worked really well. That's just going to reinforce that people are in the right place and this particular product now, not the solution, the product is going to be right for them. We're going to back it up with 3 more case studies. A good VSL is going to have 6 in total, where you're going to show people more social proof. You might be able to spend a little bit longer here because you're now into the sales pitch than you could in the intro, because you're trying to get through the intro relatively quickly. We really want to focus on the outcomes that people were able to generate from this. Don't make this up. In fact, if you're doing a really good job servicing your customers, then they should be happy to give you this information. In fact, they're probably happy to jump on the phone and speak to prospective clients or customers as well. And talk about now the ultimate benefits that people will get. Coming back to that example I was giving you with a marketing agency selling in the video sales letter to dentists, you might say something like, Sean said that he's happier at work and gets to be more selective about his hours. He loves surfing. And for the first time in 5 years, he took a 3-week surfing holiday. Now, again, this is usually stuff that's not made up when you get on these calls to get feedback from your customers. They'll just say, yeah, it's been amazing. I've been able to do this. And you find those snippets of information, because it's not just about increasing leads or increasing sales. It's also about what that means for the individual as a result of that. And those things typically are great motivators for people to act. You say working with us is going to lead to a particular outcome, more leads, cheaper leads, higher conversions. And then you say, and what that ultimately means for you, coming back to what I was just saying about the case studies, is that you're going to remove some sort of negative outcome or emotion. You're going to be able to achieve this desired result. And you're going to be able to feel this particular way. You're going to feel empowered. You're going to feel confident. You're going to feel excited to go to work. We want to make sure that you're not at this particular point, and it's just coming up, still not selling on features of your particular product. You're selling people on outcome-based marketing. In fact, we've bit our whole tongue for the entire VSL, and we've got to this particular point. And next up, we're going to sell the features. So give you that example. With a functioning VSL, you'll be able to generate more leads at a much cheaper price, and you'll be able to convert those leads at a better rate. and grow your revenue faster. And what that ultimately means for you is you'll stop lying awake at night stressed about how to pay for your staff and suppliers. You won't need to work as long hours as you do and spend more time with your family, and you'll feel proud of your achievements and excited to go to work each day. Paint this picture of the outcomes that they will get from working with you, and get those outcomes from those case studies, from talking to your existing customers and finding out the types of outcomes that they have been able to generate from you adding value to them with your particular product or service. Finally, we're into the features. So you want to talk about your product, service, message, how it's better, faster, cheaper, more effective. Show the screenshots, share your screen if you can, if you're doing this live. Show them how it's better than doing it a particular old way, and how it will lead to the outcomes that you've just promised in the previous one. That sounds a little bit crazy. We don't want to spend tons of time on features, because by this particular stage, people are pretty sold on what you do, and you don't need to say a hell of a lot. Like, you really just need to show them what it is that you do, because you've done such a good job of educating them, of giving them some social proof, painting this picture of what they'll be able to achieve. You don't need to spend tons and tons of time on the features of your products, because they're probably going to be well and truly bought into it. What we do need to do then is to deliver your knockout offer. And ideally, this offer is specific to the video sales letter. If you've done a good job with all of these points up until now, then it should seem like a bit of a no-brainer. People are going to be ready. They're going to be chomping at the bit to act. You deliver this offer and tell people exactly what to do. And this may be it. They might go, yep, cool, ready to go. And they'll go from buy. And they've gone from complete stranger to someone who's really excited to take action. Now, the one thing I will say is that if you're a business that doesn't want to disclose price at this particular point in time, this might be the end of the video sales letter. You might not even deliver your offer. You might just deliver a CTA only. You might say, look, if you're interested in what we have to offer, book a call with us or fill in this application form, whatever your way of going about selling is. And that's the end of the VSL. And people are like, yeah, great, I want to speak to these guys. And then you get them on a regular sales call, and then you can take them through what your offer is. And the good news here is that your sales calls shouldn't be anywhere near as long as they used to be, because you've done all the heavy lifting. You've explained what it is. They've gone through this. They're like, yep, love it. Just tell me how much it costs, talk through that, call through any specifics, and then you're able to close the sale a lot quicker, because they've done such a good job. And this is why VSLs often will deliver much higher conversion rates. But if you are looking for people to purchase straight away, like if you're an e-commerce business or you transact online, what you're going to do here is deliver some sort of knockout offer. For those of you who were on my previous masterclass on how to massively increase your return on ad spend, I talked about Alex Hormozzi's value equation. You want to have the best solution that appears less risky, i.e. there's a high perceived likelihood of achievement that will ultimately deliver those results faster in an easier way. Highly recommend this book. One of the best books you can read as a marketer, but ultimately we want to have a knockout offer. We've got lots of other content on our platform on developing offers, so I won't spend too much more time on that. A couple more things just to round off the video sales letter. Firstly, you want to add some urgency and scarcity. Urgency being, hey, this is valid for a particular point in time. Don't be unethical with this. Don't just make it up. You are genuinely going to add urgency. You've got to stick to it. Same with scarcity. You might say this offer is limited to 100 people or the first 200 customers or something like that. Again, don't be unethical with that. Don't just add it in for the sake of adding it in. You do want to use these tools. They are effective, but you need to have substance behind it. Throw in a bonus. If they act today or if they act within a certain period of time, you're going to throw in some additional stuff. Give those things a value that will help. People like, wow, it's already a good offer, but wow, with this bonus, I'd be mad not to take that up. And also, if you can, add a guarantee, which might be like free returns for the next 30 days or a satisfaction guarantee, 60-day satisfaction guarantee, or something along those lines. Make sure you do that properly. You have terms and conditions related to that particular guarantee. Again, ethics, you must have a guarantee that you can back up and that you will follow through on. Otherwise, don't have that guarantee. But if you have a knockout offer and then you add urgency, scarcity, some bonuses, and back it up with a guarantee, there is literally no reason for people to say no off the back of this. Finally, you just want to sum that all up, because you've been through a fair amount of information off the back of that. Just sum it up again, including the bonuses, the guarantee, and remind them of the urgency or scarcity if you use that. Then you just simply tell them what to do next. Book a call with us, fill in this form, buy the product, take some form of action off the back of that. this structure is going to be the best way that you can deliver that sales pitch that's there. And then finally, you may want to finish with some frequently asked questions just to disarm any objections that they have. A good way to do this is to take what you think are the top 3 or 4 objections and then reframe them as a FAQ. If people are thinking, oh, it's too expensive, your frequently asked question might be, why does this represent such good value? Or this isn't a good time for you to buy, becomes, why is it really important to act now? You just take the objection, you flip it and turn it into a frequently asked question, and that can help to disarm any potential objections that people have. Key success factors to this. Firstly, you need a quality VSL with a great offer. If you have something that looks crap, or if you've structured incorrectly, it's got a bunch of spelling mistakes or whatever, it's not going to be effective. There is potential for brand damage in this, in the same way that we create social media content. It must be important that it's a quality VSL. It needs to be really well presented. Face and or voice, I think, is important. So the production of it does matter. You need a steady, reliable traffic source. It's one thing to create this, but then you've got to get people into it. Typically, the best one to use is going to be paid ads, which should actually be a lot cheaper because you're offering something that's free, as opposed to driving people to buy something where they know they have to pay money. High converting landing page, or you can use social forms, is really important. So even if you get traffic to the landing page, if people don't opt in because your landing page doesn't convert, then it's going to be no good. Ideally, you're using an email sequence off the back of this as well. You want to have automated emails that get sent out to reinforce some of the core concepts that you have in your video sales letter. In fact, what you can do is exactly that. Just take all the content that's in the body of your email and just make that into a sequence just to reinforce what it says. And then finally, if you are someone who takes that sale offline, you want to make sure that your sales team are effective at closing people and that they're familiar with the video sales letter, because people are going to get onto those sales calls and they're going to be like, wow, I watched the video. And if your salesperson's never even watched the video, then they won't know what they're talking about and it'll feel a little bit strange. A couple of bonus tips. A lot of people are like, oh, how do I start a webinar? I've never done this before, freaking out. This is a lot of work. I would actually say start by just doing this one-on-one with people. Do it like 5 to 10 times with one person. What's going to happen is it's going to help you to perfect your deck. It's going to help you to perfect what you want to say. It's going to help you to grow in confidence. You're going to see people's reactions and hear the questions that they're asking. You're going to be able to fine-tune it over that. You don't have to start one-to-many. You can start one-to-one just to give you enough confidence. Send it off to a designer if you're not design-minded. So it's beautiful visual slides. This is the first time people have seen your organization. So you want to make sure you put across as good an impression as possible first off the bat. Founders, CEO, marketing director, whoever it is, should do this, not someone else. You can consider faceless. You don't necessarily need to have someone's face in the corner if you're doing this, if you are doing it on demand. If you're doing it live, I think you do need that. There are a lot of AI tools that you can use now where you can actually write the script, feed it into it, and then it will create the voice for you. Things like HeyGen, 11 Labs, Murph.ai are all amazing AI tools that you can use for this. Consider AI for voice or face. Give it a value. If you think about how much you would charge someone to teach them this stuff in an hour, it's probably pretty high for most founders. So you could even give it a value to say, hey, this is a $197 consultation that I'm giving you for free. Don't be unethical in the way in which you do this, but I genuinely feel like your time is always worth a certain value, and you're dedicating an hour of your time to someone. You can put a value on that to help convert people and get people into the webinar. Make it evergreen. You don't want something that dates too quickly. Otherwise, you're just going to have to keep going back and doing the VSL. And then finally, good quality audio is very important. And if you do have your face on it, use the iPhone continuity camera or the Samsung equivalent, where you can use your phone, which is what I'm doing today, as the camera, as opposed to your webcam, which is a little bit behind where the phones are with it, or you can use a DSLR camera as well. So a couple of key success factors and bonus tips. I hope you've got a lot out of this. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.